All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everybody for coming. Today is the regular city council meeting. Today's date is October 14th at 6:30. Roll call, we have the full house. Looks like we have Councilmember Johnson, Councilmember Hutchison, myself, Councilmember Reagan, and Councilmember Carlson. I'm looking, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Somebody wants to add or take it off? I have one thing that I was gonna have her add and I forgot. Is the Cleveland, Bolio, and Pine Street South, which is the roads that go behind the school, that basically we have had those, no driving through there, so I would like to add it on the agenda, and let's put it under C, and then any new business can be D, under new business. Need a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Hutchinson, looking for a second. Second by Reagan. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda A to D.
I will make that motion.
Motion made by Carlson, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Johnson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda request. Let's do Kent first because Kramer wants to be on the phone, so I'll try to get him on loudspeaker. So if we can do that, I told him between 35 and 40, so.
All right, Kent asked me to come, or to ask the council, if they would consider his water bill, or reducing his water bill. What happened was, he had it, we turned the water on for realtors or whatever it was, he's not even in the state. And when we turned it on outside, we checked inside, and there was a leak in there. So we turned it off at the meter so they could fix the leak and proceed with it. He had a friend in town that was kind of keeping track of the building for him, and he went over and fixed the leak, he thought, and or between him and somebody else, they turned the water on. And then the next water bill, it was 50,000 gallons of water in his basement. So he's...
Okay.
55,000, okay. So he's wondering if there's anything we can do about it. He says it's an honest mistake, and I get it, but it's up to you guys, I guess, whether you want to look at that or not. He's relying on somebody locally who's trying to do him a favor, and somehow it got missed. And so he just asked, since he's out in Pennsylvania, if we would bring it forward and talk about it. So that's where that's at.
Okay. Anybody have any comments?
If you don't mind me asking, what is the dollar amount we're talking?
His bill is in there.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Page
I'm
eight.
sorry, I didn't see that.
My speaker thing.
No, page eight is the-
Or no, not page.
Yeah.
Page 9
Page
of
nine.
the bill for that is, and I did remove the sewer mowing charges since Bruce said it didn't go into our sewer system, it just went to the ground.
Okay.
So I did remove that for him.
So it looks like his bill is $220.41 at this, no, $270 at this point because he had some surcharges.
No, I
Here-
mean, I've been there. We went out of town one weekend and our timer for our sprinklers did not shut off. So I've been there. We just paid it, it was our mistake, so I don't know, I mean, what do you guys think?
I think, I agree with you. I think if we do this, I know there's a couple other ones that will come back and, you know, they paid it like Amy just mentioned, so I'm in favor of, it's too bad, but
Especially after the city had turned it off,
yes.
you know, so I don't think we're in fault of any sort. We shouldn't be responsible for the money, in my opinion. What do you guys feel?
As far as I know, we haven't done it in the past. That's the only thing I know.
Okay,
So I'm about 50/50,
I remember when me and my wife were dating many years ago, she had a house and I had one up here and she'd come up here, but she ended up, suppose you got a big bill and we wanted to know what it was. He said, well, your stool was running. It was quite a chunk of bill. It was at least this high, if not bigger. We ended up paying that. The city didn't pay it. Not this city, but another city. So I don't think this is out of line. And like I said, it's unfortunate for him, but I still don't think that we should be responsible for it.
I like that you did take off the sewer charges because that is realistic, but. So the total then, is it the 244 or the 270? Was the 270 with the,
The 270 is with their pass bill, so all the charges for that was $244.44.
okay.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we leave it as it is.
Okay, motion made by Johnson, looking for a second.
I would second that.
Second by Hutchinson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Oop, I actually do
Oh,
have.
go ahead.
I was just contemplating about maybe giving him a little break with the late fees, but, you know, in reality, I suppose it is what it is. I mean, every other resident pays their bill and,
This happened back in it's October.
yeah.
No, September.
Okay, strike that from the record. I didn't say anything.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So now Ron is left it, for he's a snowbird, so he left it, but he requested to be heard over speakerphone. I told him, we'll try it. I don't know how good service is gonna be. I don't think there is gonna be any service, but we'll try it.
Want me to do it for you?
I don't know about what you can touch my phone. I don't know either. Alright.
Hello.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
Mayor Yoder and the council here, we're calling you. You're up on the agenda.
You can hear me okay?
We can hear you, but if we get disconnected, just so you know, we're in a metal building and it's possible that we may get disconnected. But you go ahead and tell them what you want to tell them.
Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen and well, ladies. I got two issues. The first one I'll bring up is the building inspector. The contractor mentioned to him that I may build. And the first thing out of his mouth, he said, well, you gotta have an engineering report. And the contractor said, what for? He said, 30 years I never needed an engineering report in residential. And he said, that's what I want. And that is going to be between 6 to 10 grand. And if that's going to be the case, I ain't going to build. The other thing, he said his dad was going to build at Motley, and he used to be a contractor, and he told his dad the same thing, and his dad said, well, I don't have to build here at Motley, I'll build somewhere else. So, for that, next is assessment. I'm bordering both Morrison Street and Emery Circle. I have no need for Emery Circle, I don't need it. It isn't gonna do me any good whatsoever. My address is gonna be Morrison Street, and my driveway is gonna be Morrison Street. And I'd like to see something done on that assessment. Something work out. Now, I don't need an answer till February or March. That's probably when if we can make an agreement, that's when I'll have the contractor start.
Okay. You have anything more, Ron?
That's pretty much it. Other than that, if I can't come to agreement, I think I'll just put the place up for sale, the lot up for sale, and I'm gonna move one way or the other, and if I can't make an agreement, I'll just move out of town. And if I can't sell the lot, I'll let the city have it back.
Okay.
If I build, you guys are gonna be collecting taxes for me from now and forever, and when something happens to me, somebody else is gonna be paying it. If I don't build, if nobody else builds on it, you're not gonna collect a dime.
Okay.
So that's something for you guys to consider also. Melrose, they had 4 lots. The city gave the lots away to people who wanted to build within 1 year, and they gave them 1 year free taxes. Just to get some building in town. Motley's pretty well dying. I don't know. You'd think you'd want some new construction there to pick up the tax base, because the houses that are there, 50% of them are probably not repairable anymore.
Okay.
Any questions?
Did anybody have anything for Ron? You guys wanna ask questions or anything?
I can't hear.
No, nobody has asked yet. I'm just asking them if any of them have any questions or they wanna talk about. Anybody?
Not at this point.
No?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
losing you now.
No, I guess nobody has questions, Ron.
Okay,
Do you
all right.
want, do you want us to make a motion tonight or you wanna,
No, you don't have to make a decision until February or March.
all right, sounds good.
I'm no hurry. I'm not gonna start anything, and I'm not gonna give a commitment to the contractor until after the first of the year.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Thanks, Ron.
stay warm. It's only 90 here right now.
We don't wanna hear it.
All right.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, so his assessment that the city had on there originally was $8,464 and 6 cents, and then obviously there's some interest accrued. Now I talked to Lacey. Do you know, Darcy, if is that that interest, would that be something the city had paid, or is that just something that the city charges? That's what I emailed her and I didn't get a response.
I guess I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm curious that myself, because it does make a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if we just charge it, then it would be almost seem fair to, only start him out at the original easement.
Yeah.
So you guys wanna wait till the next agenda, or the next meeting, and I just don't wanna keep dragging this along. Either we make a decision, what we're gonna do, or we don't.
Yeah, well, I think Lacey will be here next month.
Okay,
She'll be back on Monday.
okay.
Nice.
So we could put it on the agenda for next month,
I would.
just to see what we wanna do with the interest part of it.
Yeah. Well, just going into it, I mean, he knew what he was paying for when he bought it.
Mhm.
He bought it for almost nothing. The fact that it borders on 2 streets is a non-issue in my mind. If you wanted the lot, you knew what you were buying. If other residents are gonna buy lots, they're dealing with the same stuff, so. I don't think we should touch the principal. If anything, I'd like an answer on the interest, and we can maybe discuss that, but we would also have to be fair with the other people who bought the properties along there as well.
Right.
So, if we make a decision, I think we need to offer that to the other parties, just to be fair.
I don't like it. I think if it goes through, I think seriously about going by the other ones there. I thought we were all in pretty strong opinion at the P and Z a month, and we were all had a strong feeling of which way to go, so my feelings are that, yes, he knew what it was when he bought it, and everybody else did, and it's only fair to the other people. Maybe a break, like Amy said at the beginning, but I don't want to give it a wash at all. It just opens a whole can of stuff for everybody else that did these things in the past.
You guys have any input?
Not right now.
Okay. All right, well, moving on.
So are we gonna table this
Yeah,
till
we'll
next?
table it to next time.
Okay.
We'll find out about the interest, if it's a cost to the city or if it's something the city is charged. Department report, planning and zoning.
Don't have anything coming forward.
And by the way, I apologize that I missed your meeting. I didn't realize until a week later, I'm like, I thought we were having a P and Z. And I looked and it's like, uh-oh, had missed it.
Well, you're not the first one that's done that. I think we all have.
Yes, we have.
All right, we're moving on to, we have nothing in the building department. Oh, building inspector, yes, we do inspections. I did want to bring that up and talk about it because I've had quite a few complaints about the building inspector. People are saying we can't afford to build. And I checked with Pillager, they don't have a building inspector. I talked with Randall, they don't have one. Upswood doesn't have one. Who else didn't have one? There's another city. Bertha doesn't have one. There's quite a few small towns that have gotten away from it because it is too costly. And I think we need to start thinking about that, honestly. You know, I've talked to these cities, I said, what do you guys do to make them follow these state codes? And they said, well, if you have a contractor that's licensed and bonded, they have to still follow the state code, or are supposed to.
Supposed to.
And, you know, typically you have a rep rule like Kramer was talking about at Becker Construction, you know, he's been in business 30 years. And really, it just makes no sense. I think the city's we're cutting our hands off by having him. I think, you know, there's not been a new house going up, so far back as I can remember. Does anybody remember a new house going up since we've had them? You know, and $4,000 or $5,000 is a lot of, even $10,000 is a lot of money for doing. So I didn't know if you guys wanna do more research. I kinda did my research, I know what direction I'd like to go, but I don't know how you guys feel.
Well, being kind of, you know, in that trade, this engineering report is pretty surprising. We see a lot of plans at where I work, and I can tell you they're by far anything engineered out. And even if the plan is very basic, it does not affect the construction of the home by any means. I like the fact of having a inspector look to make sure their framing is secure, and some of that other stuff, but I don't know that engineering reports and official blueprints, none of that is necessary.
I don't think you can do 50% though.
No.
Either have it or don't.
So when I talk to some of the cities, what they've been doing is the mayor and their zoning guy goes out, looks at it, he said, you can pretty much, most people can pretty much tell if they're doing it right or not. Well, I have experience in building, I know I wouldn't have a problem looking at it.
Yeah.
If we wanted to do it, you know, go that route, just do a spot check every now and then. But like I said, we haven't had a new house go up, so I don't know. I mean, I just think that, I don't know, I guess I'm prepared to just stop that. That's his services and between me and, what's his name? His own guy. Darren knows what the state codes are and a lot of that stuff, you know.
And I've gotten many permits over the years, and it is difficult when you have him involved. Just the fact of he needs to come and look at things, and, you know, if he doesn't understand what you're doing, you know, there's extra explaining to do, and, so it does make it a little more difficult, and we definitely don't think we should hinder any new construction in town.
Jace,
I'm in favor.
somebody wanna make a motion that we just continue his services? We can send someone a letter saying we don't need him no more, and
Do we wanna give it a little time and, I know Lacey will be back Monday, get a sheet on what he's supposed to be doing for us? Or do you guys feel we should just kind of follow the other cities and,
I think we should follow the other cities. I don't think he's willing to do like Steve said, I don't think he's willing to come do 50% just to spot check. I mean, you got carpenters saying, and this isn't the first complaint, I'm telling you, I got
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 other
but I know he
ones.
does some rental stuff for us too.
Well, we haven't never had him do that yet, I don't think, have we, Bruce? We
No.
talked about it, but I
We've
don't think
had
we
some
ever
meetings,
have.
but we've never, I don't
I'm not
think,
sure.
finished anything.
You guys haven't done anything with it yet?
No.
Our meeting was a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering, I mean, isn't he supposed to be doing what we tell him we want done? I mean, engineering,
I don't know how to,
So they have
That's the-
state,
I don't-
they have a state code and
right,
they,
I understand.
he has to follow, what he is taught, trained and taught to follow the state code, and so if he comes in like that ground with Ron, he wanted, you know, that engineering done, so somebody, he has to hire somebody to come in to test the ground to make sure it's gonna hold his structure that he wants to build. You know, when you have a carpenter that's been there 30 years, has done many, many work, he wouldn't be a business if he did crappy work, he's like, that's not needed. You know, we know what the ground's gonna hold, how I'm gonna design it, it's gonna be not, it's state code.
Yeah, I agree, all the engineering plans and stuff like that are not needed on the residentials. But I'm wondering about the cities that do have a building inspector and continue. I mean, how are they doing? They're not doing all this stuff, otherwise they wouldn't be getting any construction. Like Staples, I know this same building inspector works for Staples.
Right.
But they're building like crazy over there. So is he
So
doing the
there's-
same thing over there as he's doing here, or?
I heard he was, I heard, they gave me some reference to check to some businesses over there that they had to spend a lot of extra more money than they were thought they would have to. But I think with Staples, you know, you have a lot more, how would you say it? It's a lot more,
The income
income is higher, everything's different than what, you know, we're only 700 people, or less, and primarily, you know, I don't know. I just think for a new building, since the city has adopted him, and not just him, even just, you know, we really haven't,
The only new I can think of are those rental townhouses on the south end down
Yeah.
here.
and I think that's before him.
I would think that's before him
Yeah.
too.
Who was the inspector then?
Oh,
We had a
wait, we had
different-
one.
Yeah, there was a
David
David.
Varsity.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had a different guy, because when I built my shed, he came out as a inspector, he was very, very nice to me. But
Is it having an inspector that's a problem, or is it the inspector that we have is the problem?
See, that's what I'm wondering. I don't know, I don't want us to be too quick to get rid of him without knowing.
I think like Al said, if he's doing his job properly, he has to do what the state mandates him to do. He can't come in and say, you know, one house, 2x4 studs, or, yeah, studs are fine, 2x6, whatever. You know, he has to follow the state, that's to do his job, he can't come in and do it halfway.
And I, you know, well, Bruce, you had a little bit running, you wanna, do we all know about that? I mean, about when you were running you had a little issue with it.
He's got a big grin on his face, I know that right there.
It was more difficult than it needed to be, I felt. He wanted us to come up with details and stuff of the plans and that, or what her foundation was gonna be, because he was mandating a foundation on that building. And we got somebody to send stuff over, and then he sat down with us and drew up what he wanted. And I thought if if you already know what you want, why do you need us to go through the process if you're gonna come tell us the way to do it anyways? I mean, just tell us what we need. And I think back to that sign in the park, I had talked to Dave Barsodi before we ever started that and asked him if we were gonna need some kind of footings or anything, and he said a couple sonotubes would be fine. Well, then Dave left and he took over, and when we finally got to that sign, it was, well, what's your engineer say? You got some drawings and that kind of stuff. Well, no, I don't. And about 3 weeks later, he called something about, to the effect it was my lucky day because there was somebody else had engineered the sign and it's okay to use sonotubes now, so. And it's like, why did it, I mean, Dave knew right away. I just had to ask him, this guy, well, what's your engineer say? You know, everything is referred back to somebody else, and if they'll rubber stamp it, then he's okay with it. Otherwise, it's only if he doesn't like what you're gonna do that he'll correct you. Otherwise, it just felt like it was, dang, just tell me what you want, you know, we'll do it. You know, we don't need to make it difficult, spend extra money and time and resources figuring it out. So.
This Dave was our former inspector,
Yes.
so it sounds like there's quite a difference between the two.
Well, I don't wanna push it if you guys are not comfortable. You guys gotta be comfortable, because we gotta be as a unit, you know, but like I said, I kinda know where I wanna go with this. So.
Well, let's see where it goes. I'll make a motion that we discontinue the building inspector for City of Motley.
Okay, motion made by Johnson.
I'll second it.
Looking for a second. I got a second by Carlson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, that's all we have for new building. Unless anybody else has anything, anybody have anything? Fire department.
We had 12 calls for the month, 8 of those were medicals, 2 motor vehicle accidents, and 2 fires. And I didn't get this on the agenda, but it fits into this next section here. Our pressure washer died on us, and I'd just like approval to go buy a new one. They're about $300. We use it for washing trucks and scrubbing the floors and stuff.
I didn't know if you needed an approval on this. I thought it was 500 or less.
I don't think he does.
I thought so too.
You as
but-
the chief, feel free to, feel like you need one, get one.
Okay.
Anything else?
We did 90 kids through here last week for fire safety.
Good.
Entertaining.
The new truck is still on.
Actually, we just paid for the chassis and it is in line to start production now, so
Cool.
we should see it next June or July.
Okay.
You said at the meeting that's a discount when you paid it,
Yep,
the chassis.
we saved $3,400 by paying for the chassis up front.
Great.
All right, please, Chief Borish.
Oh, I have one thing
Oh,
for him,
I'm
if
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. I know there's a sign out front with the fireman's prayer on it. Did somebody back into that, or is it just kind of deteriorating?
So we hit it.
Uh-oh, I'm
I'll
sorry.
take that one.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We did have a motor vehicle accident there in mid-September. A visitor was leaving the Dairy Queen. They were at the stop sign to turn on the Highway 10 and go southbound. Once he started pulling out, he thought he saw a vehicle coming fast towards him, so he accelerated. I think he panicked a little bit, kept the steering wheel turned, he wiped out a sign in the center median, came back across the northbound lanes and crashed into the sign.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
So, yeah, it completely wrecked the sign. It's gonna have to be totally rebuilt, and I'm working with the insurance company now to,
Okay. Well, I know it was kind of something you guys had talked about before, so
And
I wasn't sure if it was just
Now
falling
we-
apart or, okay,
we've got a committee looking at rebuilding it and
okay,
possibly an LED sign on top of it. But
nice, okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Anybody have anything else? All right, then we're gonna move on. Chief Borish.
Okay, page 11 through 15 for my police report. Had 152 calls for the month of September, which brings us up to 1,260 calls as of the end of September. I got called out twice from home for a couple emergency calls, and between Officer Pesta and myself, we worked 4 of the TZD overtime shifts that month. So, and those are all state grant funded, so we get reimbursed for that time completely. So. Any questions on the report? Next I had put in a vacation request for November 8th through the 15th.
If that involves deer hunting, no.
It may.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay, motion made by Carlson, looking for a
I'll
second.
second that,
Second by Hutchinson.
or Pat can have it either way.
You got it. You bid high.
You got it.
Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Alright, and number 3, parking restrictions. So, in amongst our daily routines and patrols, been having some issues in a few areas with residents parking out on the street, and they're making it very difficult for a good flow of traffic. It becomes a traffic hazard. They're parking side by side, one on each side of the street. It's a narrower street without parking room or a curb, and barely get one lane of traffic then between the 2 cars, so you have vehicles waiting on each other. It's just a matter of time until there's gonna be an accident. I've tried working with the residents on it, and they've been stubborn, would put it mildly, about it. I've been trying to work with them since beginning of July, and speaking with them numerous times and getting nowhere. So their advice to me was put up no parking signs, then we will stop parking there. So on the map that I gave you guys, the red lines show where I'd like to have a no parking area due to these problems with people parking on the street. Typically, there are more than enough parking spaces at every apartment building, at every residence, off-street parking, that very rarely do I ever see a car parked on the street in the entire city. Other than maybe a guest for a very short period of time. Typically all residents park in their driveways all the time. So I think by having this area marked in red, posted with no parking signs, yeah, that would alleviate a lot of these issues. Guess I'm leaving it up to what your guys' discretion or thoughts are on it.